When people ask me how long I was married, I usually hesitate. Do I count the years of devotion, or do I subtract the years of betrayal? By paper, it was nearly 12 years. In my heart, sometimes it feels like I lost twice that amount. My husband, Daniel, was supposed to be my partner, my best friend, the one I could lean on when life grew heavy. Instead, he became the very storm that wrecked everything I thought was permanent. It began like any other Thursday. The autumn air was crisp, and the streets carried that faint smell of roasted coffee beans and damp leaves. I had just dropped our son, Ethan, off at school and was running late to work when I noticed Daniel wasn't answering his phone. That wasn't unusual. He worked in finance, and long hours with endless meetings were part of the package. But something in my gut twisted, a quiet alarm bell that I ignored at the time. That evening, when I returned home, Ethan's laughter echoed in the living room as he played with his Lego set. Daniel's suitcase wasn't in its usual corner near the closet. His laptop charger was gone too. My stomach dropped. I remember asking Ethan, "Did Daddy say where he was going?" He shook his head, too focused on building his Lego castle to care. Hours later, I received a text from Daniel. Just one line that would change everything. "I've moved to Barcelona. Don't wait for me." At first, I thought it was a joke. Daniel was dramatic sometimes, but never cruel. I called, texted, begged him to explain. Silence. Then a week later, social media filled in the gaps. Pictures of Daniel on the beach in Barcelona, his arm draped around a young brunette I had never seen before. They were smiling, wine glasses raised, like the perfect couple. My heart cracked open in a way I cannot fully describe. I was left behind with Ethan, our 10-year-old boy who adored his father. Try explaining to a child why his dad suddenly chose sunshine and a mistress over bedtime stories and soccer games. I tried to soften it. I said Daddy was traveling for work, but children know when they're being lied to. Ethan stopped asking for him after a while. He built his Lego castles taller, sturdier, as if to protect himself. Financially, I was crumbling. Daniel had always been the breadwinner, and while I had a job as an assistant at a publishing firm, my salary barely covered rent, groceries, and Ethan's school expenses. Daniel sent nothing, not a dollar for his son. He vanished into his new life while I carried the weight of both parents. Months blurred together. Work, bills, Ethan's homework, repeat. My friends tried to console me, but betrayal doesn't heal with kind words. It lingers. Nights were the worst. I would scroll through Daniel's photos in Barcelona, each one a knife twist. He seemed so carefree, as if Ethan and I never existed. One rainy afternoon, 6 months after he left, I received an email from Daniel. The subject line, "I'm coming back." My hands trembled as I opened it. He wrote that life in Barcelona wasn't what he thought it would be. His mistress, Sophia, had betrayed him with another man. He had no money left, no stability, and he wanted to return home. The audacity of it left me breathless. After abandoning us, he expected to walk back into our lives as if nothing had happened. I didn't reply right away. That night, I tucked Ethan into bed and stared at his sleeping face. My son deserved better than a father who chose passion over responsibility. But Ethan also deserved truth, and maybe closure. When Daniel arrived a week later, suitcase in hand, he looked nothing like the man who had left. He was thinner, tired, his once pristine suits replaced with wrinkled clothes. His confident stride was gone. He stood at my door like a stranger. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice low, almost ashamed. I should have slammed the door. I should have screamed. But instead, I let him in, not out of love, but curiosity. What does a man say after destroying his family? Ethan's footsteps padded into the hallway. "Daddy," he whispered, eyes wide. Daniel dropped to his knees, tears brimming. "Hey, buddy. I missed you so much." Ethan hesitated before hugging him. That moment was bittersweet, my son's joy, my own heart's ache. Daniel looked at me then, his eyes pleading. "I made a mistake. Please, let me make it right." I crossed my arms. "A mistake? You abandoned your family, Daniel. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." His face fell. He begged for forgiveness, said he wanted another chance. But forgiveness is not a switch you can flip. It's a slow, painful process, and I wasn't sure I had the strength to give it. Still, for Ethan's sake, I allowed Daniel to stay in the guest room. My boundaries were clear, this wasn't a reconciliation. It was temporary, until I figured out what was best for my son. But living under the same roof again stirred old wounds. I watched him play with Ethan, cook breakfast, act like the father he should have always been. Part of me wanted to believe he had changed. The other part remembered the pictures of him and Sophia, smiling in the Barcelona sun. At night, when the house was quiet, Daniel would knock on my door. "Can we talk?" he'd ask. Sometimes I let him in, sometimes I didn't. He apologized endlessly, reciting every cliché in the book, how he was lost, how he had been stupid, how he finally realized what truly mattered. Words were cheap. Actions were what I needed. And as the weeks went on, Daniel's presence began to unravel more truths about his time in Barcelona, about Sophia, and about the lies he continued to hide. That I soon discovered his return wasn't about love or family, it was about survival. And once again, I would have to decide whether to protect him, or finally choose myself. The first week of Daniel's return was the strangest I had ever experienced. He walked through the house as if he had never left, yet every corner carried the ghost of his absence. He'd stand in the kitchen brewing coffee like he used to, humming softly under his breath, while I sat at the table gripping my mug, resisting the urge to scream. Ethan was overjoyed, of course. He clung to his father as if he feared Daniel would vanish again. They played soccer in the yard until dusk, laughed over silly cartoons, and shared inside jokes I wasn't a part of. Seeing my son happy should have filled me with relief, but instead, it made me ache. How could Daniel turn that joy on and off like a switch? How could he abandon it so easily, only to come back when his fantasy collapsed? Late one night, I sat at my desk sorting through unpaid bills when Daniel knocked gently on the doorframe. His hair was damp from the shower, his expression heavy. "Can we talk?" he asked softly. I didn't look up. "You've been talking since you came back, Daniel. Words don't fix things." He stepped inside anyway, pulling out a chair. "You're right. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't even deserve to be here. But I need you to understand why I left." I clenched my jaw. "Because you wanted her." His face tightened. "Yes. At first, it was about Sophia. She made me feel alive again, at least I thought she did. But Barcelona, it wasn't what I expected. She wasn't what I expected. She wanted money, travel, luxury. And I gave it all until I had nothing left. When I ran out of money, she disappeared. I was left with debt, alone, and," his voice cracked. "And I realized I had destroyed everything real in my life." I wanted to laugh at the irony. "So you came crawling back when the fantasy ended?" Daniel's eyes met mine, desperate. "No. I came back because I finally understood. I chose wrong. I should never have left you and Ethan. I lost myself in selfishness, but I want to be better. I want to fix what I broke." I pushed the pile of bills toward him. "You want to fix things? Start here. These are months of rent, utilities, groceries. Things you were supposed to help with. If you want to prove anything, pay for your son's life. Not your words. Your actions." He swallowed hard but nodded. I'll find work. I'll do whatever it takes. For the first time, I saw a flicker of the man I once married. Still, trust doesn't regrow overnight. The following days, Daniel applied for jobs, mostly in finance, though his resume carried a glaring 6-month gap he couldn't explain without exposing himself. He did odd jobs while he searched, helped a neighbor paint her fence, fixed leaky faucets, even mowed lawns. Ethan admired him more each day, and that tugged at my heart. My son deserved a present father, but I couldn't forget the betrayal. One Saturday, I was folding laundry when Ethan ran in, his eyes shining. "Mom. Dad says we can all go to the park tomorrow. Like old times." My hands froze on a shirt. Old times. The word stabbed me. Old times weren't real anymore. But I looked at Ethan's smile, and I couldn't say no. The next day, we went to the park. Daniel carried the soccer ball, Ethan raced ahead, and for a moment, it almost felt normal. Families laughed around us, kids screamed with joy, and autumn leaves crunched underfoot. Daniel kicked the ball back and forth with Ethan, their laughter echoing across the field. Watching them, I felt a confusing mix of longing and anger. When we finally sat on a bench, Ethan darted off to climb the jungle gym. Daniel leaned toward me, his voice low. "I know it doesn't seem like it, but I'm trying, Claire." I kept my eyes on Ethan. Trying doesn't erase the nights Ethan cried himself to sleep. Or the months I wondered how we'd pay for food. "I know," Daniel whispered. "And I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you, if you let me." Before I could answer, a voice interrupted. "Well, isn't this cozy?" I turned to see a woman standing near the bench, sunglasses perched on her head, her accent sharp and unmistakable. Barcelona Spanish. Daniel's face went pale. "Sophia." The air left my lungs. This was her, the mistress. Tall, striking, with waves of dark hair and an elegance that made me feel instantly small. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked, his voice tight. Sophia smirked. "You didn't think I'd let you disappear without consequences, did you? Barcelona may be far away, but debt collectors travel quickly." She slid her sunglasses down, her eyes cold. "You owe me, Daniel. And I always collect." My heart raced. Ethan was still playing, unaware of the storm unfolding. "Ethan, honey." I called quickly. "Come here." Sophia glanced at me with mild amusement. "So this is the wife. The one you left behind." I must say, she looks stronger than you described. Daniel's fists clenched. "This isn't the place, Sophia. Leave." But Sophia only laughed, low and dangerous. "You left me with bills, Daniel. With promises. Do you think you can run back to your little family and hide? I want my money." The pieces clicked in my head like shards of glass. Daniel hadn't returned for love. He hadn't returned for Ethan. He had returned because he was running, from Sophia, from debt, from the ruins of his double life. I stood, my voice trembling with fury. "You came back not because you realized anything, but because you had nowhere else to go." Daniel's face fell, his silence confirming it all. Ethan tugged at my sleeve, sensing the tension. "Mom, what's wrong?" I forced a smile, guiding him away. "Nothing, sweetheart. We're going home." That night, after Ethan was asleep, I confronted Daniel. He admitted everything, the gambling, the loans, the way Sophia had demanded more and more until he drowned. He had been using me, using Ethan's innocence, as a shield from his mistakes that I felt numb. "You don't want to fix this family, Daniel. You want to fix yourself. And you want us to be your safety net." He shook his head, tears falling. "No, I want both. I want you. I want Ethan. Please, don't throw me away. But my heart had already hardened. He wasn't the man I married. He was a shadow of him, one who traded his family for illusions and then returned when the illusions crumbled. I realized then that his return wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of a new battle, one where I had to choose between letting him stay and destroy us again, or finding the courage to finally close the door. And this time, I wasn't the same woman he left behind. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Daniel's face twisted in shame, Sophia's smirk, and Ethan's confused little eyes looking up at me, desperate for reassurance. My mind replayed the years of betrayal, the nights of loneliness, the moment that text came, "I've moved to Barcelona. Don't wait for me." And now here we were, back under the same roof, but the foundation was cracked beyond repair. The next morning, I made coffee and sat at the table, staring at the steam curling above the mug. Daniel entered, his hair a mess, his shoulders slumped. He looked less like the confident man who had once promised me the world, and more like a child caught stealing. "We need to talk," I said firmly. He nodded, sitting across from me. "I let you come back because of Ethan. Because I didn't want him to lose his father completely. But I won't let you use us to escape your mess. Sophia made it clear, she wants money. And I refuse to let her threats spill into our son's life." Daniel rubbed his face. "I'll handle her. I'll find a way." I shook my head. "You've been saying you'll find a way since the day you left. No more promises, Daniel. If you're staying here, it will be as Ethan's father only. Not as my husband. Not as my partner. And only until you prove you can stand on your own 2 feet without dragging us down." The words hit him like a slap. His lips parted, then closed again. Finally, he whispered, "Do you hate me?" I stared at him, the answer clear. "No. But I don't love you anymore, either. And that's worse." For a moment, silence filled the kitchen, heavy and suffocating. Then Ethan padded in, still half asleep, and the tension broke. Daniel poured cereal, trying to act normal, but I knew the shift had begun. The weeks that followed were a test of endurance. Sophia lingered in the background, calling Daniel, sending messages, sometimes even showing up at the edge of the street like a predator waiting for her prey. She didn't care that there was a child involved, her eyes were fixed on money and revenge. One evening, after tucking Ethan into bed, I found Daniel pacing the living room with his phone pressed to his ear. "I don't have it right now, Sophia. Just give me more time," he hissed. I crossed my arms. "She's not going to stop, Daniel. You gave her power over you the second you left with her." He hung up, his face pale. "I don't know what to do. If she pushes this legally, or worse." I cut him off. "Then you deal with it. You face the consequences of your choices. I won't fight your battles anymore." For once, he didn't argue. He just sat down, burying his face in his hands. Meanwhile, Ethan sensed the unease. Kids always do. One night, he asked quietly, "Mom, is Dad leaving again?" I hesitated, then knelt beside him. "Sweetheart, I don't know what Dad will do. But I promise you this, I'm not going anywhere. You'll always have me." His little arms wrapped around my neck. "That's enough," he whispered. And in that moment, I knew the truth. I had been holding on to the hope that Daniel might change, that our marriage might somehow be salvageable. But what Ethan needed most wasn't a broken family glued back together, it was stability. It was a mother strong enough to shield him from chaos. 2 weeks later, the choice was made for me. Sophia showed up at my door in broad daylight, her heels clicking against the porch. "Claire, isn't it?" she said smoothly. "I think it's time you understood something. Your husband owes me a lot. And if he can't pay, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what he did. The debt, the fraud, the lies. My blood boiled. You think I care about your threats? You can shout his sins from the rooftops for all I care. But you will not bring this drama to my son's doorstep. Her lips curled into a cold smile. Then make him pay. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. No. He will pay, just not with us. This is the last time you show up here. Next time, I call the police. Sophia's eyes narrowed, but she didn't reply. She turned and walked away, her perfume lingering in the air long after she was gone. When I turned, Daniel was standing in the hallway, having heard everything. His face was ghostly white. She's not bluffing, he whispered. Then stop hiding, I snapped. Face her. Face the mess you made. Because I'm done protecting you. The next day, Daniel packed his things. He hugged Ethan tightly, tears streaming down his face, promising to call, to visit, to do better. Ethan cried too, clinging to him, but eventually, he let go. When Daniel turned to me, I didn't flinch. I'll get my life together, he said hoarsely. And maybe one day, you'll forgive me. I met his gaze steadily. Maybe. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And it doesn't mean letting you back in. He nodded slowly, then walked out the door. It's been a year since Daniel left the second time. This time, it was different. There were no tears on my part, no nights of endless questioning. Only clarity. I poured my energy into Ethan, into my work, into building a life that didn't rely on someone else's broken promises. Ethan still talks to Daniel occasionally, but the pedestal is gone. He sees him for what he is, flawed, imperfect, but still his dad. And that's enough. As for me, I finally understand something I wish I had known years ago. Sometimes the person you love the most is also the one you need to let go of. Because love without respect, without trust, isn't love at all, it's a chain. And when Daniel moved to Barcelona with his mistress, he broke that chain for me. It hurt, it nearly destroyed me, but in the end, it set me free. Now, when people ask how long I was married, I no longer hesitate. Long enough to learn what I deserve, I say. And that answer, finally, feels right.